We live in times when people think that God's laws are archaic. They think God's ways are too ancient for these modern times we live in. Is it surprising to imagine that the creatures are feeling like they have evolved, so much so they now know better than the Creator? Like a product becoming too smart for the producer. Do you see that working out well? I guess that shouldn't come strange to us. It is the sign of the times we live in. And what did Jesus say about that? I am here to fulfill, not cancel every word that God has spoken. Many of us think that what we need the most for this hour is change. But God says what you need for this hour is God. When we make room for God in our hearts, in our homes, in our society, and in our nations, He will come in and set things right. So much more than the change we are craving. Can we invite God into every area we need help so He can come in and move? Not to do what we want or think should be done. God will come in and do what He knows is needful for the time we live in. We live in dangerous times when judgment and condemnation come so easy because people are hurting and angry and are seeking for outlets. Yet, we cannot rate godliness on the basis of religious practices. The more room we make for God, the more godly our lives, our homes, our societies and nations will be, and the less likely we are to judge and condemn others. You were taught that it was sinful to kill. Let me tell you, every time you harbor thoughts that lead you to point fingers at others, you are sinning against yourself and against them. Yes, they are not perfect. Neither are you. Every time you point one finger at others, the remaining four are pointing back at you. If instead you will chew your words before spitting them out, and only choose words that would help instead of hurt. If only you use words that you would want returned to you if you were in the same place they are now. Then you have chosen the highway of compassion, a path only the noble can walk. We have been taught that giving revolves around bringing money and gift items to God and to the church. Let me tell you one of the best gifts that God delights in. When you give of yourself, when you realize that someone was robbed or hurt by your words or actions or lack of both, and instead of shrugging it off, you take to them the gift of you for peace and reconciliation, then you are walking the highway of kindness. I have been privileged to make some good money in my career and to give generously to those in need. My friends and I have contributed and personally delivered stationeries to poor children, mother and baby wears to pregnant women, clothing, food and snacks and drinks to the needy. I have been privileged to give ridiculous checks and cash, pay rents and tuition, give away expensive items, including land, housewares, office furnishing, and cars. Just name it. I have been there and done all that. But guess where my greatest joy emerged from? Giving myself to those who were not in good places in their life and journey. And watching them learn, grow in faith and grace, and become helpers and mentors to others. The greatest miracles I have experienced and witnessed were not the spontaneous joy bursting from people who unexpectedly received physical answers to their prayers through my gifts. It was the glorious transformation of those into whose lives I was prepared and positioned to pour mine. Thus, I learned the greatest gifts we can give in the world where stuff matters so much is the gift of who we are to help others become who they ought. Do not neglect the gift of you expressed through thoughtfulness, kind consideration, gentleness, and patience toward others. It always puts you in good stead and saves you more than you can imagine, whether you were right or wrong. And don't let pride or shame hold you back. Give of you generously as you would give of yours. We were taught don't mess with other spouses. Well, don't mess with nobody because your body and theirs are sacred and should be regarded with honor in thought and in deed. If thinking about someone or something will set you up to fail, close that door and don't think about those. But don't leave your thoughts blank either, or it will creep back in and knock you down before you realize it. Instead, replace unwanted thoughts with healthy ideas and helpful contemplations. Do you want to know what God thinks about marriage and divorce? It's a covenant He made to last for a lifetime, and every time you hurt the other or break up, it's not just a deal between you two. Remember, this is a bond that God was very much involved in from the beginning. The God whom you invited on the altar of your union is still God as you do whatever you do in your marriage. Keep that in mind and be guided. It is good to be right, but it is better to be like God and to honor Him in all of our commitments. Think before you say it. Don't say it because you feel you have to. Better to say nothing than to say the wrong thing. We can never take words out of the hearts they have already broken. And apologies don't heal as fast as our words hurt. Better to think twice before you speak so that your yes or your no today remains the same whenever it is cross-checked. Anytime you feel you have to say more, then make the effort to say even less. Let every word be rich and meaningful from your mouth to God's ears. Tit for tat evens the scale, we were taught. But what good comes out of it? None. Let it go. Don't pay back evil for evil, for then you have to sow a seed you don't need for a harvest you can't escape. Only give what you would be glad to receive. Better to be the one offended than the one offending, for then you can plead your case with a clear conscience before God. As for those who think they are smart for cheating you, let them go. Life and time have a way of taking care of those. It is easy to love those who love you and to ignore, if not hate back, those who hate you. But there is a higher way to go. Love those who love you. And as for those who hate you, be intentional in extending compassion and grace to them. It's exactly what God did for us, and He expects every one of us who received out of His generosity to not discriminate against those who don't care about us. Yes, it'll cost you to be kinder to them, but it is a worthy price for a noble deed. You can't make a difference if you go down the ugly path that is so easy to take. That's what the majority are doing anyways. You can dare to be different by planting your feet in the steps that God left behind for us. They are steps of mercy, grace, and love toward all, irrespective of who they are and what they do to us. Whatever you do, aspire to be like God by doing the things He would do. Let's check in on the journal. In what ways can you be different in your words and deeds? What did you say and do before now that God will not say and do? How can you ensure a change and maintain that change? Every little step toward God, taken every single day, does add up eventually. It may not appear as much before our eyes, but every little step toward God weighs a lot when measured on the scales of eternity. Check out the links and scriptures below for additional help. Feel free to share your response in the comments. Be inspired. You are a star, and it's your time to shine. Join me in the next video still on this series of Divine Interruption. Stop insulting God.